Four words: Paul McCartney, Glastonbury. Fantastic. Paul played an absolute belting set Friday night at Glastonbury. I must admit, I was prepared to be maybe a little underwhelmed, I don't know. Quite the opposite really. It's just so good, so good. It's a new version of Paul, this is, or it's the best version of Paul I've seen for a long time. Good set list, just everything was right. The way he presented himself, everything was right. There was none of these. When he was a bit younger, even in the Wings days and later on, he used to have these annoying little, almost embarrassing little movements or things he'd say. Probably a bit like an embarrassing uncle, that type of thing. There was none of that. It was all, he came on, he did the show, and everything was spot on. Just so good. And if you look through social media now, I don't think I've seen a bad comment. I've seen one bad comment, well, there must be others, but I've only seen one. So I'm thinking now, overwhelmingly, I think people are now saying, yeah, he did a good show. I think here in the UK, I don't think we were expecting too much, but he was brilliant right from the start. He just knew. You were hooked within, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, first song. I was grabbing me. It was just so good. Can't really say any more than that, really. Sort of brought me to tears a couple of times. He did the Here Today song about John, and that always gets to me. He did he mentioned George Martin, the time when they recorded Love Me Do, and Paul had to sing the Love Me Do line because John had to do the harmonica bit behind that vocal, and Paul was terrified. He told that little story. Then at the same time he says, how about a shout out for George Martin? So you got the full crowd cheering George, which is good. He did the tribute to George Harrison with the ukulele intro to Something, and he told the story I didn't realise, but this the actual ukulele what Paul was playing, George presented that to Paul. Paul said he went round George's house one time. I don't know what the year was. It was obviously after the Beatles. Could be around about the anthology time. And Paul was telling George as he'd done an arrangement on the ukulele for something and played it to George, and he was happy about it. And George gave him this ukulele. So Paul standing on the Glastonbury stage with George's ukulele, and I thought that ukulele's worth a few quid. It's worth a bob or two, that one. Excuse me. So that was a nice touch. And there's all the photographs of George behind, George and Paul and the other Beatles and various stages. Then of course they did the I've Got a Feeling with John. I got mixed feelings about that first time I heard about it, but I thought, well, it's good really. It's bringing John into the story. So I think I sort of appreciate that thought from Paul, really, bringing John into the fold, sort of thing. But, yeah, it was great. It really was great. I don't know outside of this country, BBC iPlayer, it's up there. I don't know if outside of the UK where iPlayer is playable, but if you can get to see Paul through the iPlayer, if you're abroad, if you're in another country apart from the UK, try and see it. It's really superb, as are many of the other acts too on Glastonbury. I was quite impressed with Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, quite impressed with Supergrass. Idols. Who else have I seen? I've seen one or two. Pet Shop Boys. You know, it's a thoroughly good festival. It's probably the best live outdoor festival in the world, I would think. It's been going for 50 years, or just over 50 years now. 1970 it started, and I know David Bowie was on the first list. In those days it was £1 to get in. You pay at the gate. Just go in, turn up on the day. Not like that anymore, unfortunately. Anyway, back to Paul. Yeah, so I think the only maybe one song he did which didn't quite work for me, and it's one he's only just started doing, and it's from Abbey Road, and it's called You Never Give Me Your Money. I don't know, it didn't quite work for me, and I didn't do the beginning bit on piano, the piano bit, piano introduction. It starts off when the piano finishes, and then we have the next section of the song. So it didn't quite. Maybe you're used to hearing the full song with the medley, you know, back of side 2 of Abbey Road. It didn't feel right. It felt a bit out of place somehow. So apart from that, yeah, it was good. You do all the usual stuff, you know, Hey Jude. He did a good version of Maybe I'm Amazed. Okay, the voice is not quite there, but I think he's singing now. I think he's changed one or two notes here and there, so he's not really. I know there's one in particular in Lady Madonna. He used to make me wince a little bit, but he's hitting different notes now and again. I think it's working for him. So the Maybe I'm Amazed was quite good. I enjoyed that performance, that one. Did a good version of Let Me Roll It, which is probably one of his best songs, really. Band on the Run, of course. Finished off with the Abbey Road medley, but before that he brought Dave Grohl on, and Dave sang I Saw Her Standing There with Paul. Apparently Dave flew in especially for the gig. Who wouldn't do that though, really, let's face it. And then, because that was, Paul announced Dave Grohl from the west coast of America, and he says, I'm bringing somebody else on now, after Dave had gone, from the east coast, and on walks Bruce Springsteen. Wow, that was quite impressive. I don't particularly buy Bruce Springsteen's music as such. I've got a couple of albums, but I just admire him for what he stands for and what he believes in, and I like him, but I don't particularly go for all the music as such. But he came on and he sang one of his own songs. He sang Glory Days with Paul, so it wasn't even a Paul song. So I thought that's nice. I like that. So that was impressive. And again, Bruce, he flew in, especially for the gig. And I would imagine Dave Grohl and Bruce Springsteen were two very happy men that night. Who wouldn't be, really? You know, let's face it, Paul has got to be. Now he's up there, and everybody else is probably down there now after Glastonbury. Absolutely tremendous. So there we go. I've said my tuppence worth, so I just need to get this off my chest. I thought I'd do it. I just had a moment here to do this video. Won't have much chance now for the rest of the week, so I want to get this in while it's still fresh in my mind. It's Monday now, and it happened Friday evening, so it's 27th of June now, and it's a lovely day. So I must be on my way now, and I'll get this video up some point, and check Paul out, Glastonbury 2022. The new version of Paul, or the best version of Paul I've seen for a long time. He was brilliant.